Alright guys, Rust Console Edition just released, and it's time for a review, and this is probably going to be a really quick review. I want to get this out there and make sure you guys don't spend $50 on this game. So it has a lot of problems. We'll start with the server problems, right? The first hour the game was out, it was impossible to get into a server. You couldn't find the same servers as your friends. Invites didn't work. The game kept crashing. Typical server stuff when games launch. But aside from that, when you're actually in the game, your game will freeze occasionally, just out of nowhere, like how Ark used to do. And if you don't know what Ark or DayZ is, we're going to be comparing this game to those two a lot in this video. And so, what's the actual game like once you get? And while it would be ideal to show you my own gameplay and my own footage that I've recorded, Rust does not like me and will not allow me to record this game for some reason, and just sticks me at this random inventory screen that I've never even opened before for all of my clips. Every single one is stuck at this screen. So we're just going to use the trailer gameplay, and I'll complain about the game over that. So again, this is the 17-minute gameplay trailer and not my gameplay because the game hates me, but this never happened in the time that I played. I never even saw anyone with stuff this advanced, and that's not my problem with the game, right? Just like Ark and DayZ, I'm sure it's there, you just have to play for it and grind for it, and you'll get to it, right? My problem with the game is the map, right? And I have a million other problems with the game, but the map is kind of the source of all of the problems. And so let me explain the problem with the map. So this right here is the default map for DayZ, right? It's 252 or 62 square kilometers, I can't remember exactly, but just keep that number in mind. Look at the size of the map. If you've played DayZ, you know how big the map is. Well, let's continue. This is the map for Livonia, this DLC map for DayZ. It's about 165-ish kilometers, about half the size of the main DayZ map. You're getting where we're going to with this. Next is the default original Ark map at 36 kilometers. Significantly smaller, but still a decent-sized map for Ark. It takes a while to traverse that map. From there, we can go to GTA at 31 kilometers for the entire map. Again, it takes you in a fast car maybe 10 minutes to get across the entire map. Not huge, but still a decent size. And I want to focus on GTA for a minute. When you're playing GTA in that 32-person lobby on this 31-kilometer map, and there's people in hydras and oppressors and with freaking orbital cannons, it is a shit show. It is a mess with 32 people on a 31-kilometer map. Essentially a kilometer for each person, right? Again, if you're up north, it's not as bad, but for the most part, these full GTA lobbies are just a PvP mess. So keep that in mind as we continue. So this is the PC version of the Rust map. It's 16 kilometers, square kilometers, and it's a decent size. It's not huge. It's nothing like DayZ, but it's still a decent sized map, right? There's 100 players on the server, so if you really want to break it down, it's about 6 people sharing a kilometer, if that's how you want to look at it. Whereas on the DayZ map, there's roughly 60 people on a normal server with a 200 and whatever sized map. Now for the console edition map, I need to start it big, because if I started it small, you guys would not be able to see it. So zoom in your screens, turn up your quality, and honestly, I was messing with it, and if I actually made this to scale, it's like point something in size. It's not even a whole 1. That is a size of 2, if you can even see that map. And so my point is, while the Rust map on PC is 16 square kilometers, on console it's 2.7 something or 2.6 something. It's tiny, with 100 players, right? Now, look back to the DayZ map that is huge in the background. That's 60 players, right? The distance between towns is 2 kilometers, right? Actually, let me show you something for scale if you're a DayZ player. So like I said, the console Rust map is 2 point whatever kilometers. Do you see these 2 towns here on the DayZ map that I just significantly zoomed in? The distance between these 2 towns is 2 kilometers, right? And if you play the game, you know that's about a 10 to 15 minute run, depending on what you stop to loot, how fast you're moving, your stamina, all that good stuff. So the entire map for Rust is the distance between two towns in DayZ with almost double the players. And so, if you don't understand the problems that can create, I guess I'll break it down for you, right? Primarily, the biggest problem is that in Ark or something like that, you have no fear of mid to low tier loot players because the map's so spread out. You're very unlikely, other than in that spawn area, to run into anybody unless they're just an insanely high tier player. In Rust on console, that is not the same scenario, right? A majority of the people that I saw, almost everybody that I saw and was killed by, were just low tier players running around stabbing each other with spears. Because the map is so small, there's so many players in such a small confined area that it's essentially just a PvP lobby. So you spend all that time, like in an Ark game, making your tools and collecting cloth and fiber and wood and stone and all of that stuff, and it's so much harder to get in this game, specifically stone, because you can't just go up to any rock and get it. There are specific stone rocks, and while it's not a grind or anything, it does take a fair amount of time, and when you spent that fair 10 minutes to re-gear as a fresh spawn, and then some other dude with a rock comes and kills you, it's insanely frustrating. Now, I did see one person with a gun, like I said, so that's at least promising. But for a majority, I would say a good 60 to 70% of the people on the server were just running around as relatively low-level people and just having fun doing a PvP deathmatch type thing. And if you've played this on PC, and this is just what Rust is, let me know in the comments, and then at that point I just don't like the game. But I can't imagine in a game like this, in this type of game where you have to grind and go loot and do all this stuff to get all of this gear that you're supposed to be just getting erased by a group of 4 people with rocks, right? And that's another problem, speaking of the loot within the game, is it does the whole food water thing, right? And once you get into it and learn what all of the food and water is, it's not too bad, but as far as the loot goes, there's very few loot locations across the map. I want to say there's maybe 15. Most of them are already looted because there are 100 players on a tiny map, or they're radiated and you can't go there because you will die of radiation. And so while playing, I was thinking, typically in these types of games you have the low tier people who are fighting in the spawn areas to get loot, the mid tier people maybe trying to build their base or raid the other smaller bases in order to get more gear and get more money and all that good stuff, and then the high tier people who have these big bases and just pretty much run the server, right? With Rust, again, from what I've played, the problem with map size is that it's too small to allow those big clans to be created, because every single base that I saw, and I saw a lot of them, there are bases everywhere. If you've played Ark and you see all the thatch huts on the beach just scattered that are all just broken into a little 2x2 hut, that's what this looks like. There's just 2x2 huts everywhere. No one spends the time to build a big proper base. Now, let me, remind you guys that while I've only been playing this game for 2 days at this point, the game's been out through the Deluxe and Ultimate Edition, whatever they're called, for 4 or 5 days. So it's not like the time isn't there for somebody to build a big base like what's in this trailer, right? If people were on and grinding, they could definitely do it. But I think the map size doesn't allow you to build something like this because you'll just get killed doing it. There's no seclusion or ability to hide from other players because everyone is just right there next to you. You almost always have a player on your screen. And again, if you've played Rust on PC, and this is just how Rust is, it is just constant PvP, then I just don't like Rust, right? But I have a very strong feeling that it has to do with the map size, right? But that's just me, and again, I want to say that the map size, I'm going off what it tells you in the game. So someone comes down in the comments and says, actually, the map's 16 kilometers, just like on PC. Then the map size within the Rust game on the server information on console is wrong. And if it is 16 kilometers, you move way too fast, because you can traverse this entire map if you run in a straight line in probably less than 10 minutes, maybe even 5 if you don't get stuck in a radiation zone. So what would I rate Rust out of 10, right? You need to give it a score. And so this is hard to give a score because all of the problems revolve around a single problem, being the map, right? If the map was 2, 3, 4 times bigger, I think that would allow for so much just more gameplay dynamic stuff. I mean, this game has vendors, which is really cool for a base game to have, and like AI outposts and all of that stuff, and there's scientists you can go around and kill. All that stuff's really cool. I like that a lot. But just the map size doesn't allow for pretty much anything to be done except PvP. And so all of that combined would probably set the game for me at a 4 or 5, right? Average or below average. It's just fine. But then you have to add the fact that this game costs $50, or if you're in Maniac, 80 or 70 or whatever the other versions cost. And so that's an insane amount of money. At least for what's here. What's here is nowhere near worth $50. This is a game preview, beta, alpha type game, right? And I don't know if it's just they're working on other maps, or if once they get the game stable, they're going to make the map bigger and expand it. I don't know. But with the size the map is right now, this is not a $50 game. It's not a $30 game. I can see them charging $20 for this, but honestly, this should be on game preview and be free right now. So due to the price of the game and the problem that all of the map causes, I'm going to put this game at a 4 for right now. If future updates come out and the map grows bigger, or as the game is out longer, less players are on the servers and they're not completely full to 100 players with 80-person queues, then I'll come back and change my score later. But for right now, this game is not worth the $50. But you guys let me know down in the comments below what you guys think of the game. If you played it on PC, how different is this from PC? And I hope you guys enjoyed this one.